Hey guys, how's it going? Srey here. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite heroes to play in the game, and that is Zeratul. Although Zeratul can be difficult to play, I think he's also one of the most rewarding heroes. He's kind of a melee, stealth, burst, mobile assassin, and his job is to split the fight and go for high priority targets. He has two distinct types of play, and those are defined by his level 7 talents. So I'm going to include two additional gameplay videos to go along with this video, and you can find those videos by looking at the description or clicking on the annotations on this video. Zeratul has a lot of burst damage and he has a lot of mobility, and those two things together make him very deadly in the right hands. I think he's one of the most effective heroes in the game in Hero League or Quick Match if you can play him properly. He fits in pretty much any comp, and he's only really weak to if the enemy team has three tanks or just a ton of frontline, and even then you can still outplay your opponents to the point where that doesn't matter. So he's weak versus a lot of tanks, a lot of melee, and that's because he's pretty vulnerable if he's unstealth and just walking and meleeing up to targets. And the way you want to play it is you want to go for flanks, you want to go for blinking in and out, and you want to go for the back line. So if you're playing Zeratul and you're going for the tanks and you're just being targeted down, you're probably playing him wrong. So he can fit in any comp. He has counters, obviously. So hard CC is really good for him because if you can pin him down and prevent him from blinking, he's a really, really easy target to kill. He's very squishy. So heroes like Brightwing, who can polymorph him and offer vision, heroes like Tassadar, who make it more difficult for him to kill targets and can provide vision, and who himself is very difficult for Zeratul to kill. Lots of tanks counter Zeratul, and Zeratul is very effective, and you want to pick him when the enemy team has squishy backlines. So if they have 2 to 3 ranged assassins, so if they have like a Sylvanas, if they have a Vala, Jaina, all those heroes in the same team makes it a perfect game for Zeratul. It's good on pretty much any map, and there's never really a bad time to pick Zeratul. You don't want to pick him if you have too much frontline. So obviously you always want backline in your team composition, but if you go, a Mirrodin, Thrall, Zeratul, that comp isn't unheard of, but I probably still wouldn't advise it. So the standard Mirrodin, double backline, say Sylvala plus a Zeratul plus a healer is just pretty standard. Zeratul has the ability to combo very effectively with his allies, and this is due to his level 10 talent, Void Prison, which we'll talk about later. But that talent effectively allows you to focus one target. So if a Kerrigan jumps in, easily focus her down, and by Void Prisoning out the rest of the heroes on the enemy team. So the healer won't be able to heal the Kerrigan, or you can VP the enemy backline so they can't damage while you focus down the Kerrigan. And basically, he has a lot of options in team fights that he has available to him. So playing Zeratul, as with anything, if you have a lot of options, it makes it for a more difficult experience and a larger learning curve. So Zeratul, when you're first playing him, can seem maybe kind of easy to use. You basically might just be blinking on targets, queuing, and attacking a single target. But really, once you see the talent options that I'm giving that are available to you, you'll see that he has quite a few ways that he can initiate fights and quite a few ways that he can blink in and out of fights. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. So let's go over Zeratul's talents quickly. So level 1, you're going to want to go Vorpal Blade. So Vorpal Blade is basically another blink, but it's kind of a unique blink. So 3 seconds after attacking the last target, you can blink to them. And this is on a 15-second cooldown, and basically gives you another ability at level 1, which is very, very, very effective. So the blink back here is the Vorpal. So when I walk away, you can see this little circle hovering above, and that means I can Vorpal back to my target. And this makes it very effective for chasing targets and for getting on heroes that can blink away or have some kind of mobility. So if you're attacking a Li Ming, and if you blink onto Li Ming, you attack and you Singularity Spike her, then she blinks away, you can use Vorpal Blade to get right back on her. In addition, it also has some unique uses. So Falstad, Dahaka, and Brightwing are 3 heroes with globals. If you're auto-attacking a Dahaka when he's digging, you can instantly Vorpal across the map to wherever he digs. Obviously, just be careful when you're using it on a Brightwing or something. You don't want to be attacking a Brightwing and then you Vorpal into the middle of her team, because that would be bad. The other talents here at level 1 just aren't very effective. Greater Cleave increases the radius of cleave by 33%. That shouldn't matter anyway because you're always in melee range, so cleave doesn't really change that, or increased radius doesn't really change that. Shadow Hunter It takes too long to stack up. It's 20 regen globes for a reduced cooldown on your blink every time you attack. And you already have so many blinks available to you, especially later at level 7, that you don't need this talent. And before you get the reward, the quest part of it is just really, really crap. At level 4, you have Grim Task, Rending Cleave, and Combo Slash. Now these are actually all pretty decent, but you're going to want to go with Combo Slash. So Grim Task is actually very strong, and if you're able to stack this every game, it's the strongest talent in the game, bar none. 50% damage increase is insanely strong, so it's 10 stacks, and it doesn't even have to be a hero that you directly kill. It can be any kind of assist that you get as well. So this actually isn't ridiculously hard to stack. The problem is that if you do lose it, then you're extremely weak, and you have basically no level 4 talent. And the problem with that is Combo Slash, which is effectively follow through at level 4, is really, really strong, and you pretty much need it to do anything early game, or pretty much anything in the game, because it adds significantly more burst damage. So what this does, so it's only 40% additional damage per ability used, but you can use 3 abilities at least per fight, and this allows you to combo um, targets and do up to more than an attack and a bit of damage. So the way you want to use it is you want to blink in and then auto attack and then Singularity Spike and then cleave. So this is on if you're blinking in, right? And you just want to get an auto attack in between every single ability that you use, and that'll maximize your damage. Now, obviously, you don't always want to blink in to start a fight, so the other way you do it is you start with your W and then you Q. And it's just really easy to do, and it's going to give you the most effectiveness out of this talent. Now, Zeratul also has fairly high attack damage, 276 at level 20. That's actually quite high. He has one of the highest DPSs in the game for auto attacks, and you're going to get a lot of value out of Combo Slash. Rending Cleave increases the damage that your cleave does by 40% over 3 seconds. The problem with this is that it doesn't do nearly as much as the single target as Combo Slash does, and it's not instant damage. It is nice wave clear, and it is nice AoE damage, but your job as Zeratul isn't to AoE the team down, it's to burst a single target. And I just think that Combo Slash is so good. It's so good for that there's no reason you take Rending Cleave. As I said, Grim Task, if you're able to stack that talent, it's really good. But if you aren't able to, or if you die at some point in the game, you're basically useless because Combo Slash adds so much damage to Zeratul. So level 7 is when things get interesting, and you have effectively 2 styles of play. So you can go Wormhole or Secret in the Dark. Slip into the Shadow gives you an extra charge on Blink, but it also increases the cooldown by 8 seconds. I think this is just utter crap. I don't see why I'd ever get this. And the reason for that is both Wormhole and Secret in the Dark essentially give you another Blink. So what the Slip into the Shadow does is it gives you a Blink, but it also increases the cooldown of your normal Blink. So I don't see why you would take this when you could just have either of these other talents and just have and still have the extra blink without the increased cooldown. So the two different styles here is Wormhole versus Secret in the Dark. And Wormhole is the safer option and not necessarily the more passive option, just the safer option. So Wormhole lets you blink, reactivate blink to go back to your original target. And that's really good for poking the enemy team. So you can see here that if I poke these ogres here, I have no idea where the ogres are, and it's going to be really easy to poke them, right? So say this is the enemy team. It's really easy to blink in and out of the fight. And you can always get on the target that you want to because Wormhole lets you just target the blink. So blink is obviously targeted. So no matter where you target your blink, you're going to be able to reactivate it. And you're always going to be able to get onto your target. So that's the benefit of having Wormhole. It lets you always get onto your target. Now, Singularity Spike is a little bit different because what it does is it allows you to reactivate your Singularity Spike after you hit a target and teleport to them. It also gives you 30% movement speed and makes Singularity Spike take 50% longer to explode. So instead of 1 second, it's 1.5. So what this means is, let's see if I can actually hit the ogre here. You can teleport to your blink target, and then you can blink out if you don't miss the wall. And what this means is that you can play much more effectively because with Wormhole, you're going to blink back to the same spot, but with Secret in the Dark, since you're going onto the same target anyway here, right? So if I used Wormhole and I blinked onto this ogre, let's say I have Wormhole here, then I would just Wormhole back, and I'm always going to be Wormholing back on the same target because that's just how the ability works. So with Secret in the Dark, you're able to go into a target that you would have gone with blink anyway, and then you can attack your target. And then you still have blink to go either more aggressive, or you can blink anywhere out of the fight. So it makes the coming out of the fight a lot better, or it lets you play more aggressive. So basically, Secret in the Dark is a more aggressive style of play, and it lets you play way more. You can commit a lot harder to your target because you still have the blink available to you, and it gives you the movement speed. So Wormhole is more safe poke onto their backline. So heroes that, let's say that high levels of play, Wormhole is going to be more effective because the caliber of players you're playing against will know that if you have Secret in the Dark, they just have to avoid your Singularity Spike, and then you can't go into the fight. Because if you go into the fight with Secret in the Dark, so if you miss your W, you can't go into the fight because if you blink in, you have no way to get out. And you also have no damage now because you tried to use Singularity Spike to teleport to your target. So if you miss the Singularity Spike, you're completely ineffective. You need to be landing the Singularity Spike to get any value out of Secret in the Dark. So let's say that you always land Secret in the Dark. You always land the Singularity Spike onto their Vala every single fight, or their KT or something. Then I would always go this talent. The problem is though that that's not realistic, and the better players that you're playing against, the more difficult it's going to be able to use. So the bigger the difference between you and the players you're playing against, let's say that you're much better than the players you're playing against, I would always go Secret in the Dark. If the players you're playing against, and your skill relative to them is closer, I would get Wormhole. That's the way I look at it. So Wormhole is always guaranteed. You know what you're getting with Wormhole. You might be able to get more than with Secret in the Dark, but Wormhole is always going to be that reliable talent. Secret in the Dark is if you see someone you really want to commit to them and you know you're not going to die, then you can commit all in. Otherwise, I, I generally just recommend Wormhole. Secret in the Dark again, if you can play more aggressive in those fights, and let's say that they have a lot more backline heroes, so they have the 2 to 3 backline heroes instead of just maybe 1 or 2 or something for Wormhole, and they aren't really watching for you as much, then Secret in the Dark would be better if they're not watching for you. Level 10 is Shadow Assault versus Void Prison. So let me go really quickly here. Secret in the Dark, in addition, you can also, so with Combo Slash, which is basically follow through, if you W here, you can reactivate it and get another proc out of Combo Slash. So I just wanted to say that. I think the same thing is possible with Wormhole as well. Let me just double check. Yeah, so Wormhole does the same thing. So if you reactivate Wormhole, if you reactivate Secret in the Dark, you're going to be able to get the extra Combo Slash proc off. So it's going to give you a little bit more damage. So if you're really trying to max min your effectiveness, then you're going to want to make sure that you're proccing on both of those. Just reset here. So naturally, you'd think that since you could proc it, you can proc Combo Slash with both of these talents, that you'd be able to do it with Vorpal Blade, but no, you cannot do it with Vorpal Blade here. So if I go into the target, I auto attack and I Vorpal, it does not give you the Combo Slash proc. So I don't know why it works with one versus the other. I don't know. Blizzard's weird, but that's how it works. Level 10, we have Shadow Assault versus Void Prison, and Shadow Assault is just pretty much awful. So you already have so much mobility with Wormhole or Secret in the Dark, plus Vorpal Blade, plus Blink. That's already like 3 blinks. You don't need Shadow Assault to stick harder onto your target. What you need is Void Prison to basically turn a fight. So basically all you're getting out of Shadow Assault is 20% increased attack speed. You get a few more, maybe 1 or 2 blinks or attacks onto your target. But if you get stunned one time, you're just like Zeratul is not there to be in a sustained fight. So you don't want to be it says lasts 4 seconds, right? But you don't want to just be attacking for 4 seconds as Zeratul onto a target. You're going to get punched way too hard. And you might be able to get away with it at lower levels, but this just does not work at higher levels at all. And like by higher levels, usually I mean masters or something or GM, but even at like plat, you're not going to be able to get away with Shadow Assault. I think that Void Prison is just way too strong. So what is Void Prison? So Void Prison is a targeted AoE ability, and it basically freezes time for everything going on inside. So all heroes inside are immune to damage, and they're unable to act, including your allies. So any not even just enemies, so just any unit caught inside, including structures, is completely immune to damage and basically frozen in time. So what I mean by frozen in time here is if I cast my W, my Singularity Spike onto the little target dummy here, it should explode after 1.5 seconds. since I have Secret in the Dark. But it won't explode after 1.5 seconds because I've casted Void Prison. So you can see that the little bomb is still going there, and now it explodes. Now, I think this is a bug, but Secret in the Dark, you should expect to be able to reactivate Secret in the Dark during the Void Prison, or once it's been reactivated. So with Vorpal Blade here, if I VP, you can see that the little dot on top of the target dummy means I can reactivate target dummy, and I can teleport back to my target, right? Now, if I try and do this with Secret in the Dark, I can't reactivate it, so that's just the cooldown thing. So let me show you one more time. So if I use Secret in the Dark here, I can only reactivate it during the normal 1.5 seconds, so I can't reactivate it after it ends. So I think that's a bug. But just so you know. So Void Prison has a ton of uses, and it's not exclusively limited to fights. So you can delay things. So if you're trying to do a boss, although if you Void Prison the cap, it'll just freeze the cap and no one will be able to cap it. So you can delay like that. But if you're trying to do a boss, you can zone out the enemy team for 5 seconds and prevent them from getting onto the point in the first place. You can use it to VP an Uther, let's say, if he has Divine Shield, and just kill the Vala while he's VP'd, so he's not able to D-shield. You can use it on the same way versus a Kerrigan. So if Kerrigan jumps in, you can VP their backline. You can use it if KT Power Blasts your Vala or your Jaina or something, you can save your Vala or Jaina by VPing them because your allies take no damage. You can also use it if the enemy team is trying to dive your keep or your core or something. You can VP that and prevent it from taking damage for 5 seconds, and that can be pretty clutch to save the game. So it has a ton of uses. The biggest use, though, is generally going to be you're splitting the enemy team or you're comboing. So with the combo, Zeratul is very effective with some heroes. So let's say Jaina's Ring of Frost, right? Or even better, Malfurion's just Roots and Twilight Dream. So you cast the VP, you have a few heroes stuck inside. Malfurion roots underneath so that the root spreads, and as soon as they come out of VP, they're stuck under a root, and then he can Twilight Dream. Jaina can Ring of Frost out of it, and Diablo can use Apocalypse out of it. So you have a ton of heroes that can combo with Zeratul. And if you get, even like 2 or 3 heroes, not even their whole team, just in the VP, and you combo off that, you essentially just instantly win the fight. Now, you can also reactivate Void Prison earlier than the 5 seconds. So make sure that if you Diablo Apox, you want to release it just as the Apoc is hitting. And this is, if you're trying to actually combo like that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult in Quick Match or Hero League. It's going to be a lot easier if you're in comms with your friends and you're trying to pull that off. Level 13 are all defensive options. You have Shroud of Doom, Spell Shield, and Mending Strikes. These are all actually very strong talents. Generally, though, you're going to take Mending Strikes, and this is just because it just heals for so much. Like 35% basically 35% lifesteal is just pretty much unheard of. There used to be the Vampiric Strike on a bunch of heroes. I think Tyrell still has it, and it's not even close to 35%. And Zeratul has really strong auto attacks too, so even though it's a level 13 talent for lifesteal, it's still very, very strong. You can solo ogres no problem with this talent. You'll heal full up, and you just have no problem being around the map. So this makes you a lot more independent in Hero League and Quick Match, and when you can't rely on your healer as much for heals. It's not as good in fights, but I think that the effectiveness you get out of it while you're not in fights is just too good to pass up. It also works with Combo Slash, so since this increases your basic attack damage, you get 40% more damage and therefore 40% more healing with Combo Slash when comboing with Mending Strikes. So you still get some effectiveness out of it in team fights. Shadow of Adun gives you a shield equal to 50% of your max health over 5 seconds while you are in Permanent Cloak. So let's say that you take damage in a fight, that's 8 seconds in total until you get to 15% max health. So it's not 5 seconds because you have to enter the Permanent Cloak first, and then you get the shield. So you're going to be out of the fight for 8 seconds to regenerate 15% of your max health. You also enter fights with 15% more max health. So that's another way of looking at it. So Shield of Adun, it can be good. Maybe if they have more sustained damage, but if they have more sustained damage, I'm really just going to go Mending Strikes. I think if this was 20 or 25%, I might get it, but I don't really get it too much because of that. Spell Shield is also quite good. It's going to reduce ability damage you take by 50%, and you can activate it whenever you're going to take the damage. So this is very effective, obviously, versus heavy burst damage. Obviously, burst damage should be hard to hit you because you're blinking in and out of fights, but that's not always possible. So So sometimes Spell Shield will come in handy. But in general, I suggest taking Mending Strikes. I take it pretty much every game in Hero League or Quick Match. Level 16, we have some interesting options. We have Master Warblade, Void Slash, and Sentence to Death. Sentence to Death is the option to take here. It basically increases your combo damage by 50%, which is a lot. Well, it's not 50%, but it does increase the damage you do within the duration. So you can see that this doesn't increase the damage of Singularity Spike by 50% because it's still 500 damage, but the damage you do within the time frame that Singularity Spike pops up, you're going to do 50% more damage. So let's see, by auto here, it's going to do more damage within that time frame, which is very very helpful in terms of trying to burst the target down. So if any kind of hero has like less than, any backline hero has less than like 60, 70% health, you're going to be able to instantly burst that target down. Void Slash, it just doesn't really make sense. So if on a hero like Zeratul, so if a cleave hits more than one enemy hero, it deals 50% increased damage and its cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. So that's obviously very, very good, but you have to hit more than one enemy hero with it, and that's not always easy to do. And also, you're not really back in the fight within 3 seconds to reactivate Void Slash. Usually, you do your damage and you blink out, and you don't have blink up for another like 5, 6, 7 seconds or whatever. So you don't have another blink in, or you're not able to stay in the fight to use the cleave effectively. So even though theoretically this does a ton of damage, and it would theoretically this is always an option you want to take, it's just not realistic on a hero like Zeratul. If this is on a hero, like Thrall or something who's always in the thick of things, this is on a hero like Chen or whatever, for whatever reason, then that would be really good because you can always stay in the fight and you have basically a 50% reduced cooldown on cleave and 50% more damage on cleave. It's just insanely strong. But on a hero like Zeratul, who's just blinking in and out and doing your damage in one burst phase at a time, I just don't think it's effective. Master Warblade increases the damage of your third consecutive basic attack against the same target, um, and it makes it deal 125% bonus damage. That's actually a huge amount of bonus damage. Again, the problem here is though that you won't be able to always get the burst off. I also think that you get more burst off of Sentence to Death than Master Warblade. Master Warblades, if you want to do damage for a little bit longer, than the 1.5 second time frame they have for Singularity Spike, which you usually don't. You just want to do that burst damage and get out. And you also have to keep attacking the same target. But it's also very effective versus mercenary camps, very effective versus bosses and objectives, and um, I believe it works on structures as well. So you're gonna get more damage PvE wise, but I think Sense of Death is just too good to give up. At level 20, Rewind is just the clear option here. Nexus Blades, yes, you do 20% more damage, but to really benefit from that, you have to constantly be auto-attacking. You want to use your abilities more than your auto-attacks to benefit from it. And slowing the enemy movement speed is also helpful, but it's only 1 second, and you're slowing them with Singularity Spike anyway. Gift of the Xel'Naga, not really good. You slow them after Void Prison ends, not the most effective thing. So Rewind is going to be able to have you reset your abilities. So a reset combo could look something, if I can pull it off here, could look something like this. And you're going to do 4,500 damage in just a second or two. So it's quite a lot of burst damage, and it also gives you that extra blink. It's especially it's especially useful if you go Secret in the Dark, where you don't have the wormhole attached to your blink, so the blink becomes more important with Rewind. So I think it's more effective with Secret in the Dark, but it's effective just, I mean, with both talents, Wormhole or Secret in the Dark. One other thing I want to mention here is that sometimes, let's see if it happens here, when you cast your Singularity Spike, you'll blink over a wall. I don't know why this happens. I don't know if it just always blinks behind your target or what, but it's very annoying, and just be aware of it. But also be aware that you can use it to kind of blink over structures to kind of get a kill or something. I don't know if this is a bug or what, but it's pretty irritating when it does happen. You don't want it to. So that's it for today's video. Make sure that if you want to watch the gameplay video, you check those out. So there's going to be one for Wormhole play, and there's going to be one for Secret in the Dark play. And those are generally high-level master games. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time.